Again, I'd like to call the committee of the whole for the Village of Cary for Tuesday, March 5th, 2019 to order with roll call, please.
Koffler.
Here.
Cabelli.
Here.
Kraus.
Here.
Weinhammer.
Here.
Betts.
Here.
McElwain.
Here.
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
It makes me smile every time.
Well, now I'll open it up for public comment. Anybody want to address the committee of the whole on anything other than what's on the agenda? Anybody? Okay, we'll go ahead and close public comments. First up is development concept. Brian.
Thank you, Mayor. The discussion this evening is to review a development concept for the former school property, the Haber Oaks campus, which is over on Haber Drive. As proposed, Elm Tree Properties is under contract to purchase the property and is seeking to redevelopment for residential development. It's about a 2.8 acre parcel. It's currently bounded by Sienna Point to the west, the Harper Point development, which is under construction currently to the north, Hoffman Park to the south, and then vacant commercial property along Cary Algonquin Road to the east. Presently, the property is zoned R1, which is a single-family residential district, but is surrounded by the R3 district on both the north and west side, the B3 district to the east, and then the PO4 district to the south. As proposed in the concept, which is provided for you this evening for discussion, the developer
to develop a 40-unit development, which would include the construction of potentially 6, and then conversion of the existing building into 24 multifamily units. And what that would entail would be existing building, the first story of it, which is constructed now, and then adding a second story to the building. And then the architect can give, or the developer can give additional information as far as how he would propose to do that and potential aesthetics of that proposal. When staff met with the developer back in earlier this year, back in January, we discussed the review of the project and how it would go through our current code and also potentially the proposed unified development ordinance, which is being reviewed by the village currently. In both scenarios, it would require map zone for single family, would require rezoning to our R3 multifamily residential district, would require conditional use for the multifamily housing component of it under our current code, and then some variations for building setbacks and potentially parking depending on the scope and scale of the project. Under the proposed use, the property being over 2 acres, it still again would amendment, but would require conditional use for planned development. So the discussion with the developer was to have a conceptual meeting such as this before the board, as that would be a requirement of the UDO process for planned development to get the process submitted to go through our zoning process. The process from start to finish is very similar to what it would be currently today. It's just the approval requirement, and that depends. The reason why I'm bringing that up is it would depend if he were to submit it before the UDO, it would be under our current codes. When it was adopted, it would be under those regulations at that time. Brief overview again of the property and to enter into the Sienna Point subdivision. It's getting almost to the side. North and east sides. The Hoffman Park property to the south, and then vacant commercial property along Cary Algonquin Road to the west. As proposed, the site plan here, as you can see, conceptual layout submitted to date would include the 16 townhouse units, the conversion of the existing building to multifamily, would include a density of about 14 units per acre, and then various
layout is kind of dictated by the existing building, where that's located at, so it affects the siting of future buildings to be on the property if there's a mix of housing types. The townhomes are consistent in a point neighborhood and construction to the north. With any proposed development, that proposal based off the directives towards future land uses within the community. In this specific site, the property is designated for public, semi-public land use, which is appropriate classification for schools, which was existing land use at the time the comprehensive plan was developed. Different directives, multifamily housing or single-family attached housing within the plan, some of which are highlighted in the slide. As the developer is proposing that the age targeted for individuals that are 55 and older, it would not be restricted specifically for seniors, but he can give some additional information regarding the proposed makeup of the property, but that would be the intent would be to design the homes in a way that they would be more attractive for individuals that are 55 or older, more attractive amenities for them versus millennials or other housing types. So briefly, tonight's discussion is just to provide an overview of the company and the conceptual concept that's proposed. Staff is seeking, and the developer is also seeking direction from the committee of the whole this evening to see if there is support for a single-family attached project at this location or multifamily housing at this location to move forward with a formal application to go through. With any development project, if an application is for the zoning board for a public hearing, which would then require notification to surrounding property owners of the proposed change, and any relief proposed would be discussed during the public hearing before formally voted on before the village board, should a recommendation come out of that board level. I'll be happy to introduce Dave Cook, the developer, as well. He can come up here and give some additional information regarding the project. But staff will be happy to answer any questions you may have as well.
Do you have any questions for Brian right now?
Okay.
Mr. Cook?
Good evening. Great to see everybody. Thank you for the time tonight. As Brian mentioned, my name is Dave Cook with Elm Tree Properties. We're currently constructing the Harper Point subdivision, which is the 8 duplex units just to the north of the school property at 400 Haber. And I'm thrilled to say we've got our first building done. It's been a challenge for weather being one of them, but we actually had our first open house today. So it's we're thrilled to be at that spot. We're thrilled to be in Cary. We get a lot of potential customers coming through there, telling us how much they like the product, not only from the outside, I think it looks tremendous, but also the finish level and everything from the inside. So,
and we're looking to do more. Hopefully the weather will break here soon and we'll get that next building going as well.
And with that in mind, we had
to engage in conversations with District 155 on the school property. So as Brian mentioned, we're currently under contract
with them right now, looking to see if there is support for a residential development at that location. And one of the key points to do there is
do an adaptive reuse of the school facility rather than
went into constructing that building years ago and demolish that. We're looking to come in, refurbish the first floor, take off the existing flat roof, add a second story, and bring in a gabled roof so it'll tie in with the existing architecture, not only that we're creating at Harper Point, but it's in the surrounding Sienna. It will be an elevator building. So every unit will be fully accessible. If you don't want to do stairs, you don't have to do stairs. If you want to do stairs, they'll be there. We really see an opportunity in Cary, but you can go to
Chicagoland community, and I see a couple familiar faces here. I've been here before. I'm passionate about designing housing product for that 55 and older crowd. I've gone through it with my parents. I'm going through it with my in-laws now. There's just a demand everywhere in Chicagoland for more of this type of housing. So we're looking to take what we believe is a phenomenal product at Harper Point and continue. The units in the school building itself will go anywhere from studio size, which is roughly about 500 square feet, up to 2-bedroom size. It'd be about 1,200 square feet. We'll have some 1-bedrooms in there too, but within that building. Great views of, the surrounding terrain and everything that that area has to offer. Brian mentioned we'll also be bringing
Townhomes to the current duplex product that we have, be slightly smaller in size. The duplexes right now are just under 1,900 square feet. The next step down
between 4
square feet. Important. Here, just like in Harper Point, we'll have first floor master, so which is tremendous. It's just a necessity for the customer that we're looking to attract, and I believe in that area. So all first floor master townhomes, it'll be a private road network, just like Harper Point. There'll be a homeowners association, probably just an expansion of the Harper Point HOA to take care of all of the snow plowing, grass cutting. It'll be completely maintenance free. You don't have to worry about any of that. You just enjoy life and hopefully enjoy, family that's in the area. We're looking to bring in some common amenities, some walking paths, a butterfly garden expansion of what we're talking about doing at Harper Point, common grill area, so something for all the residents. And what I like about this proposal, one of the many things, is from a 40,000 foot level, you could in theory, while we're definitely age targeted, we're not age restricted, so it's open for sale or for rent for anybody. But you could move in here, 40, 50, at whatever age, and in theory, move into one of our duplex products, and as that becomes a little bit too big, move a half a block over into a townhome product, which is also first floor master, and then as you truly want to downsize and maybe purchase property out of state or in a warmer climate, as I'm sure many of us have been thinking of over the last few weeks here, into one of the multifamily units and truly lock up and leave the keys for a couple months, everything's taken care of, and then come back when it's warmer. So I think we've got a real exciting addition to some of this, some of the growth that we've started at that corner, and we're thrilled to be here tonight and thrilled to be talking about it. So I'll step back and can hand it back to Brian. I'm sure there's going to be questions. I know Brian sent me a couple ideas on some concept layouts. I'm more than happy to go through any of that or any concerns. Again, thank you for the help getting Harper Point going. Thank you for all of that, and thanks for the opportunity tonight.
Hold on one second, David.
Sure.
Anybody have any questions for David regarding this?
I have a question about the studios. In your letter, you didn't mention anything about the studios. How many do you plan on having in the
I
development?
think there's just 3, and what it is, Jeff, is there's a lower level in that school build. We're trying to keep as many of the bearing walls and demising walls there as possible. So there are some old classrooms
areas that, come in right around.
My thought is rather than take those walls down and redo more, to offer that to somebody that might be interested in, a smaller unit. That was the thought behind it.
Okay. I'd be interested to see some of the design plans
Of
that you have.
course,
in there.
sure.
So, okay.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that, first of all, I applaud you because we do need housing. Seniors want to age in place, and we need options for them in Cary, so I applaud you for looking into that demographic. I'm with Jeff. I definitely would want to see conceptually what you're really thinking. I was kind of surprised when you said 500 square feet. I'm like, well, that's small. But I'd like to see how that fits in, and there may be a need for that. So I certainly want to be open to that. I want to have options that our seniors who have lived here all their life and raised their children now they grow up in, that they go to their church and their doctors and their, everything that they do in town, the Jewel, wherever they like to go. So I'm excited about the opportunity and like to see what you take it to the next step. I like that it's all
it's kind of like its own little, I don't want to use the word, a planned unit development. So it's all kind of enclosed. There are a lot of different things. I like that you thought a lot of the butterfly garden, the different amenities. I think that that's forward thinking with it. So I would definitely like to at least see where you're at on the properties in the building, that the old school building. Would those be for sale, or are those rental units in there then?
Well, it's a great question. I believe there's a market for both. And I think about a year ago, we were here with the proposal for Industrial Drive, and we had a market study that demonstrated, what I truly believe, that there is a market for both. My initial thought, where my head's at with this, is that we would continue our for sale product on the townhome. Multifamily building would be an option.
Okay. And would that be fair market rental?
It would all
I just wanted to clarify something, because you said for seniors, but you said there's no age restriction. So even though that's your target, I mean, anybody can live there. So it's not really for seniors, it's for anybody.
That's a
statement, but I
ultimate customer is,
when
will be an older customer there. And that's what we're seeing so far over at Harper Point with all the interest, with the neighbors, with their relatives, with people coming in. It's an over 50 crowd.
Yeah, I just don't want it to be marketed as, 55 and older, and then, somebody who's age 55 and older finds out, somebody my age or younger, or, is moving in and they're upset about it. So, just marketed as something that it's not.
Sure, understood. Nor do we.
Okay.
Any comments from this side?
I just want to know, you have the existing townhomes that are available to look at, right?
Mhm, yeah, we do.
And how much bigger are the ones, or the new ones that you're proposing to build? They're going to be smaller?
They're going to be smaller. What
How much
we're
smaller?
trying to do here is have a couple different sizes of housing products. So our current duplex product is 1,900 square feet, a 3-bedroom product. What we're looking to do with the townhomes here on the subdivision expansion is come in slightly smaller than that, have units that range from about 1,400 to 1,800 square feet. So they would be a moved into a duplex, lived there 10 or 15 years, love the area, which I'm sure they will, but wanted something smaller, that would be a great downsize option for them. And then in the multifamily building will range probably from, that 500 square feet, although there's not a lot of studios. I don't want to give the vision that this is a 24-unit studio building. It isn't. There's just going to be a couple of them. But that product probably averages, 800-900 square feet on the studio 1 and 2-bedroom units. So what we're trying to do is have a couple different options for everybody out there as different people move through different phases of life, and have something really dynamic as well.
The duplexes have a walkout basement. Will these units have a basement?
Well, we have different grading condition out here. We'll still be looking at 2 to 3 bedroom townhome units, but likely that 2nd and 3rd bedroom will be upstairs versus going down to a finished lower level.
But would it have a basement, or is it built on a slab?
Up with a basement, people in Chicago just we all have stuff. Even when we don't think we have stuff, we have stuff. So likely we'll bring in that basement option for sure.
And then they each have a garage. Is it a one-car garage?
So
the townhomes have driveways, so there's 2.
So there'll be a point you can have 4 cars without putting anything on the street.
The street, okay.
I will compliment you. They turned out very nice, the units. They
Thank
just
you.
opened up. With Kathy Burley just opened them up, so they're very nice.
Have you been inside? Okay, so then yeah, they're great. Thank you very much. And anybody that wants a tour,
I mean, please let Kathy know, let me know.
what we've done over the last couple months.
Trustee Coster, Cavelli, any comments?
Most of my questions have already been answered. I do have some concerns about the blend of rental. Is going to be willing to pay for a townhome that's 27 feet away from a.
I mean, that happens in the city. I'm not
That's one of my concerns. But I actually would like to see a little out. I was hoping maybe from looking at this plan that you have here that there might be some cooperation with your other project there instead of having the driveway for these units over here. Maybe they could have a shared driveway so that, there would be less drive. Be looking at the garage of your current development, and that doesn't really seem good to me. And I would think you would want better view.
Right, so a couple things on that. You share the same vision as Brian. Brian's got some sketches that he's going to share with us here in a second on some alternate, layouts of that first unit. Or this townhome product is designed the way it's laid out there. We would avoid, a front door option opposite an alley. So for instance, I know we don't have the architectural detail, but the units that you're referring to, their front door would actually face Haber as opposed to facing that back alley.
Okay.
But I know Brian's thrilled to throw his idea out here and show it to everybody.
That's what he does.
So,
And he's really good at it too.
Yeah. Trustee Cavalli, anything?
I love that you're reusing the school. I think that's a great idea. I like that a lot. I'll be very curious to see what you do with that and what you come up with.
Thank you.
Was there any thought, David, forgive me if you mentioned it, but as far as like a phasing plan of what may start first, whether it's a school building or the townhome product, how do you kind of see this or envision this being phased out?
Well, I'm hoping to walk away tonight with some support from the board and thumbs up, to go ahead and let us, on our end, put some more resources into this and turn it into a formal application. If we receive that, we're going to hit the ground running with it. My thought is we probably need, 6 to 7 months as a group, to work through that approval process. The goal would be if we could get to approvals fall of this year, in theory, Thanksgiving, love to close on the property with the school board and actually start the demolition and rework of the school building over the winter so that we could get that first floor done, get the roof off, get the second floor up, get the new roof on, get weather tight before we hit the spring rains of next year. So my thought would be we'd like to hit that school building first, complete out our duplexes on Harper Point, and then, bring in the first townhome on the Haber piece.
I have a couple questions for you. The finishes, are they going to look just like the ones that you have right now?
Oh, yeah.
Same type of.
And they look good,
construction?
right?
They're
They
very
do.
high quality.
They do look really nice. And actually, I think this is a great idea. I had a meeting with a couple of seniors over the weekend, and they're frustrated that we don't have enough living. They like the Sienna Point area. They like being around that area, but there's branches come up for days. So it's nice to see this. One of the questions that I have too, we've been working with you for a while on the Haber project, or Harper, whatever you're calling it there. What do you think your timeline is from start to finish on this if you get a thumbs up from the board?
For everything in its entirety? I would say we're probably, we'll hit it fast, under 3 years. I'd say 2 to 3 there.
Okay. And just to echo what Trustee Kraus was talking about, most of these will probably have basements, and they'll be first and second floor units. So
Correct.
there'll be a master on the first floor and 2 bedrooms on. Okay. Any other questions? Everybody seems pretty faithful in moving forward with this. I think that I'd like to see what your next phase will be and see some architectural drawings and
For sure.
how talk with Brian. Brian, are you going to talk about a new site plan?
I
on,
talked
Brian,
it up
come
so
on,
he
Brian.
has to, right?
From a planning perspective, I've worked with Mr. Cook already on the project. I have some concepts we've discussed as far as possibly rotating the townhomes so they front Haber Road versus the side of the roadway. So some planning elements that still need to be done from the site plan from a code perspective, but also a layout perspective. But if the project moves forward, obviously we'll work with Mr. Cook and his team to make sure that the project is designed in a way that fits the neighborhood and also maximizes the use of the site here as well.
Okay. Anybody else have any other questions?
I do have a question about your existing properties. Are there open houses, or do we have to contact the Realtor to look at them?
So yeah, yes and yes. Always reach out to Kathy. You know, you catch her anytime. She has a bunch of open houses planned. I know she had one this afternoon, and even with the cold and, you know, the wind and everything, you know, she had a great crowd there. I think she's got another one planned for next Thursday or Friday, and then the weekend, you know, following as well. So, and if you need her contact information, you know, let me know, or Brian can get a hold of me, or we can get it to you. So,
Thank you.
yeah, you're welcome.
What are your current price
The price point's going
townhomes?
Right now, we're into high twos, and I would say we're probably looking to stay there with this redevelopment,
which I think is a great place to be. I mean, I love to be able to develop something brand new for this market under 300,000, especially with the finished packages that you guys have seen in there, both inside and outside.
All right, thank you very much.
Okay.
See you guys soon. Thank you.
Gotta do a public hearing. The next one. Yes. This next item is we're going to open up a public hearing to consider an approval for a conditional use for an electronic message sign for Galati's Hideaway. Is there anybody here that is in opposition of the electronic sign? Pardon me? I was gonna say, or has comments? I like to, if there's somebody fighting about it, then we'll ramp it up. You know, if that doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. Is anybody here against the sign? So we'll go ahead and move forward with the petitioner. Brian?
Thank you, Mayor. The request before you this evening is for a conditional use for an electronic message center sign. It's a sign that's located on the village right-of-way near the intersection of Feinberg Drive and Route 14. As proposed, the existing monument sign is 72 square feet in size. Per the petitioner's documentation that was submitted, they're requesting to use a certain portion of the sign for the electronic message center. Equals about 32 square feet of the sign based on the dimensions that were provided. Our code allows for a maximum of 40% of a sign to be used for an electronic message center. So with the information that was submitted, staff has discussed with them that they'd be willing to decrease it down to 40% for the square footage to be compliant with the code requirements should the conditional use be approved. Within our sign code, all electronic message centers require conditional use approval, which is the need for the zoning hearing, or the hearing today. Within the code, there are various standards that need to be reviewed for signs that are for conditional uses, which are summarized in the slide. Ideally, the use would not be detrimental to or endanger the public health, safety, or general welfare, not substantially diminish or impair the value of properties within the neighborhood, and would not impede the normal orderly development and improvement of surrounding properties for uses permitted in the district. There are other conditional or similar signs that are in the area. There's one a couple 100 feet away for the Golden Eagle Bank. We have approved similar facilities at other locations in the village as well. Under the proposal, in this case, there is a lease agreement with the Village of Cary for the placement of the sign that some of the provisions of that lease requires that the installation of any LED or electronic message center requires written approval by the village. So if this is something that the village board would support this evening, if it goes forward to the village board at a future meeting, we'll propose appropriate changes to the lease agreement that would cover those changes. Additionally, there are provisions as far as how much of the sign
for various tenants.
Proposed, if any changes are proposed to those as part of this, would also be presented as part of that agreement. Of the proposed conditional use, staff should the conditional use standards, staff would recommend that it be subject to the conditions that are highlighted in the slide and also in the staff report. Essentially, that the sign would be equipped with an automatic dimming mechanism, so at night the illumination levels would be decreased based on the ambient lighting in the area. The illumination of the sign should not exceed a 0.3-foot candles of ambient lighting conditions measured at a distance equal to the sign face, so that it regulates how bright the site can be in the evenings, depending on the type of message that is.
Shall not display any videos.
Cannot change more frequently than once per 6 seconds. And the electronic message center portion of the sign should not exceed the 40% of the overall sign area. Those conditions are typical conditions that we put on similar signs elsewhere in the community as well. I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have regarding the request, but the petitioner is also here to provide additional information for why they're requesting the EMC.
Okay, so I do have a question. So with all those restrictions with the lights and things, you know, the sign in Fox River Grove that's super bright, I don't want to say the name of it.
Correct.
Yeah,
Grover?
I didn't want to call it anybody, but so with all those restrictions, it would not be that bright, correct?
Correct. So with that particular sign and some of these signs, what you see usually if they use a white background, it projects very brightly from that perspective. So with the dimming mechanism, it should detect what the light levels are at night, so that when you're not, the sign doesn't need to be as bright to combat with sunlight. At the evening hours, it should dim the light, or the light that's emitted from it, so that it's not as bright. The other standard here, which is the 0.3-foot candles, that's measured as a distance from the sign face with the light meter. So if at certain points of the day, again, with a sign that has a white background or some other background, there would be a maximum illumination level that could have at a certain distance, and if it exceeds that, they would need to reprogram it or decrease the illumination level at that point. That's a standard that communities I've worked for, and also the other areas that have codes that regulate how bright those signs can be.
Okay, thank you.
There's the bank sign just 30 feet up the road too, so it'll follow all the same regulations that sign is under. So
Correct.
I have no problem with this.
I agree. I don't have a problem with it. It's, especially I like the idea that it's going to flashing light. So I'm definitely in support of
Like the sign to agree that to put a light on so that you in the back, so.
Are all the businesses over there playing nice? Is everybody happy with their space on that sign?
As much as I know, yes.
Huh?
As well as I know, yes.
Haven't heard
Yeah,
anything.
haven't heard anything. Yeah.
Okay, I'm fine with it.
no news is good news,
Yeah.
right?
Sean, did you have any comments?
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you. No, not really any comments or anything. It's just since we've obtained the sign, it has gave us a huge boost. I mean, it's everything that we thought would happen actually happened. I want to say we're up almost 20%.
That's great.
Being tucked back there in where we are, the not having signage on Route 14. Now, since we do, customers that are coming in, they're not bypassing it and, going driving all over the place. So the complaints have went down dramatically, like, hey, we can't find you, so, this would be, if the board were to approve it, it would be it would just put us at a different level as well, too, with our customers.
It looks better. Your paint job looks good on it.
Yeah, we invested a lot, so, we're really pleased with it, really pleased with it. Yeah, thank you.
I think we appreciate the fact that you're committed to the next level and putting a lot of money. Obviously, you want to have your business continue to succeed. And
Absolutely.
we certainly want to be part of helping you do that.
Yeah, we appreciate that. We greatly appreciate that. Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Is there anybody here in the audience that'd like to comment on this? The new sign? Any questions from the board? Any additional questions?
Somebody in the back.
No.
I'm actually here on behalf of the animal doctor
Okay.
there, and we think this is an excellent idea. Some of you may ago to do something similar. Concept has reemerged, and we think that it will be a very the businesses that are otherwise hidden from the traffic on 14, and that should really give a boost while also giving a very tasteful projection of the businesses that are tucked away there in the cul-de-sac.
Thank you for your comments. Okay, any other comments? Trustee Cavalli, you look like you have to say something.
Well, hearing the positive it's going to bring, I'm definitely going to support this. But I will just say that just along 14, I'm noticing a lot more lines pop. I guess we don't have any restrictions as far as how many of these we would allow or anything like that.
Presently, our code has no limits as far as how many of these signs are allowed. It does require conditional use approval, and there's no separation requirements between the signs as well.
Yeah, just recognizing the challenges that they're facing, I wouldn't want to limit their advertising or anything else, but just, again, I just want to just put that out there that I am just seeing a lot of these come up and just.
Well, I think that it's a good point. We talked about that, just the congestion of signs in that particular area too, but, that's something that we can help control, how they look, how they're operated and that type of thing. I think that is something that the board could, pick up one at a time. Any other comments? We'll go ahead and close the hearing at 7:02. Is it the board's decision to put this on consent agenda for the next
Yes.
board meeting? Thank you, Sean. Thank you for reinvesting in Carrie.
Right, I will entertain a motion to enter into executive session to discuss litigation pending or imminent, Illinois 120/2C11, and personnel, appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of specific employees, Illinois 120/2C1.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.